Welcome, welcome. So lovely to see you all. Thank you so much again for always practicing with me. It's such a pleasure to hold this space for each other and to come back every week to practice and to work a little bit deeper into yin and to keep that energy of yin for our weeks. It really, really is so balancing to have that space to come back to, especially during these times where there's so much chaos and so much going on. Having our yoga practice and keep coming back to our mat is such a crucial thing, and I really appreciate you being here and practicing with me every week. So following on from this month, we're still working all around the heart space. So looking into a practice of back bending and a little bit of work through laterals, a little bit of twisting as well, just to work into the upper back, but mainly focusing on back bends and lateral work. So really working to really liberate any stagnant energy down the side body and getting this heart space open. So quite often where we're working at a desk or just through our general day-to-day living, we're kind of thinking about the future and we're looking at phones. This makes the whole body round forward. So just by working into some back bending, we're really opening up the heart space, gaining much more access to the upper lobes of the lungs, creating much more space in the heart itself and giving much more prana energy into our lungs, into our heart center. Also in a mental aspect, is really opening ourselves and opening this space of our heart. So dropping more into our creativity, our sense of connection inward and our connection to also the outward world. But as we draw more inward to the heart space, we're really pulling in our senses, so the 5 senses. And as we build more energy around the heart space, it's really fine-tuning those senses, bringing much more vitality, sense of energy, and along with that, building our immunity. So it's a really lovely practice to do as we go into the colder months and have that change from more warm, dry climate into more damp and cold. And that change, that fluctuation often brings change in our bodies, and then we can experience different colds, flus, viruses. So this is a really lovely practice to do to help us really move through this season. So just find a comfortable seat with your hips a little bit higher than your legs, and either cross-legged or Siddhasana with one ankle in front of the other. And just rest down through the hands, wherever feels comfortable, into the lap or the knees. And then ground down through your seat, so really finding a nice spread, sit bones. And feel that your seat is really merging into that support beneath you. And then from that sense of grounding and stability, really lengthen up and rise through the spine. So feeling nice and open through the back body, through the waist, through the stomach, through the chest and the heart. And just roll the shoulders back and down. You can begin to close down through your eyes and just start to draw your attention inward. So take a moment here to just settle, just arrive to your mat, to this space. To allow the day, the past week, just to stay outside of this space, this hour for yourself. Letting go of any heaviness from the body, from the mind. Letting go of too many thoughts, to-do lists. And just being here present with yourself. So take a moment here just to tune in with how you're feeling on a physical level. So noticing any areas of tension or tightness, any discomfort in the body. And just scan from head to toe. Seeing if there's anywhere that you can find a little bit more spaciousness. And if there are any areas that do feel a little bit sensitive, just take a moment there and see if you can find a little bit more softening or a deeper understanding into what is arising in that space. No need to spend too long, just a gentle check-in with yourself. And then allow your focus to move to your breath. So feel your breath as it is naturally without trying to change or modify your breath. Just feeling into where the breath is really moving your body. And you may feel it in the chest or the belly, maybe the rib cage or the back of the heart. It might feel quite a deep breath or maybe much more shallow. Notice the pace and the length of your breath. And what is the quality? How does it feel? Is it smooth? Is it congested? Is it raspy? Is it balanced? Both nostrils. And does it feel that there's any tension or restriction as you breathe? So practicing a few rounds of pure breathing, which is breathing into the heart space. So just beginning to build some energy, prana, into the heart. When you next inhale the breath, feel the chest rise, feel the rib cage widen, and the breath go into the back of the heart. And as you exhale, really focus on pulling the navel back to the spine so it pushes the diaphragm in and up. Keep that sense of toning in your abdomen, so don't let the belly completely inflate. And push all the breath into the chest once again as you inhale. So really creating space all around the heart, and then use the belly, the abdominal muscles to pull back and push the diaphragm up. So really clearing any stagnant air from the lower lobes of the lungs and keeping the breath up in the higher part. So around the chest, around the heart. And just take a few rounds of breath here and try to slow the breath down. Keeping a nice equal ratio to your in and exhale. And every inhale, finding a little bit more space in the body that you can move the breath into. Nice. Just take 2 more rounds here. You might even start to feel a sense of vitality or energy building in the heart. And then with your next inhalation, bring your hands into a prayer and rest the thumbs onto your heart space. And take a moment here within your heart center as you've started to build that connection to really draw in an intention or a desire for your practice. So what are we using from our practice to help us really build in our lives? Where do we want to move forward? What do we want to change? And how can we use this really calm, peaceful, heart-based energy to push that intention into manifestation? So just take a moment here to set an intention or affirmation for yourself. And then bowing the head down to the heart, just offering gratitude and acknowledgement to our intention, to our practice. And we can slowly begin to open the eyes once again. And nice. So we're moving into a child's pose and into a lateral child's pose. So just come towards the back end of your mat. And you may want to keep a cushion or a rolled up blanket handy, maybe even a block for your head to rest onto. So you can either work with your legs together, so the knees and ankles are touching. That's a bit more of a compression onto the abdomen and will push the breath higher up. Or if you need a little bit more space, just take the knees slightly further apart. So let yourself come down over the legs and stretch your hands as far forward as feels comfortable. Take a moment just in a child's pose with the head to the floor. Really feel that sense of lengthening out in your spine. If it feels nice to maybe take some wriggles through the upper back side to side, you can do that too. Maybe turning the hands in and out. So you're really rolling through the shoulder joint. That might feel quite nice. Or coming up onto the fingertips and really stretching the hands further forward to get that lovely opening into the armpit and around the collarbone area. And also playing around with tucking the chin into the chest, so you get a really lovely lengthen into the back of the neck. And keep the breath full into the belly. Let's take one more round of breath here. And then move your body up and over, so your belly now rests on your right thigh. And walk your hands round to the right side of your mat, so you're coming off of your mat. And then again, once you feel nice and stretched through the left side body, we can bring the head to or towards the floor. If your head doesn't come to the floor, you can bring a blanket or a cushion up, so you bring your forehead down to rest onto that. Push back into your left sit bone. And feel that lovely opening up the left side of your body. So keep breathing fully into the belly. As you have opened now this left side, the breath is going to flood more into the intercostal muscles, so the muscles in between the rib cage, a little bit more space in the waist. And you may also feel it in the back of the heart, so along that flank, down the side of your body, back of the ribs, maybe even into the back of the waist. Only here for a few more rounds of breath, so just trying to breathe fully and create a little bit more space to liberate any stagnant, stuck energy here. As we open and move into these parts of the body that we don't naturally move into, it helps to really liberate any dense energy, any stagnant, old energy, and it brings a sense of vitality to the body as we do that. So this is how we can gain more energy, how we can feel more revitalized, how we can just bring a little boost into our mind just by moving into areas of the body and breathing into that don't normally get any attention. So just take your last round of breath and we can move over to the opposite side. Just coming through to center, taking any readjustments that you might need to, and then walking the hands all the way over to the left side of the mat. Take any props across that you might need. And then allowing the right sit bone to lengthen down to the heel. I'm feeling that lovely stretch up the right side body now. Again, breathing fully, allowing the breath to open and liberate your right side. Just take a final round of breath here. And then slowly pad yourself back into the middle of your mat. Gently come up to an all fours position. Just take the knees into alignment with the hip joint. And just take a moment here and neutral spine. So we can move again to liberate any tension around the back of the heart through a few rounds of cat-cow. So as you inhale here, just finding a long spine. And then as you exhale, push into the hands round through the upper back and tuck your tailbone towards your chin. So you're really rounding and arching the back as much as possible. With your inhalation, let your heart and belly drop towards the floor as you lift your tailbone and your gaze up. Keep your shoulders away from the ears and the elbows slightly bent to keep the chest open. Just moving in tune with your rhythm of breath. And focus on the heart space. So the front and back of the heart wants to be open and expanded. If there's anywhere that feels it's nice to pause and wriggle into, feel free to pause, take a little wriggle or movement, or wiggle side to side, or just pause and hold and breathe. There's a few moments here to really feel into that space all around the heart. Play around with any movement that feels really nice for your body. Just another 2 rounds of breath here. No need to rush at all. And finishing this last round of breath here. And then moving down onto our belly, just taking yourself down to the mat. To come into Sphinx pose. So you may want to use some props. You might not need to use props. If you're using no props, you can just take your elbows to the floor and either have the palms flat and elbows parallel, or it might feel nice to pray the hands, to just bring a little bit of pressure into the hands to keep the chest open. Maybe even resting the head into the hands might feel quite nice. Keeping the shoulders away from the ears. And if you wanted to prop yourself up, if it feels a little bit tight in your chest, you can bring a rolled up blanket underneath your chest, or maybe even a bolster or cushion. And if it's too strong, you can always come down to stacked forearms and just rest your forehead down. There's still a back bend, but it's not as strong. And also, if it feels nice to let your head drop towards the floor to give the back of the neck a little stretch, that might feel nice too. Or you might also want to move your head side to side if you've got any tension through the neck and shoulders, just inviting some very gentle movement side to side. And lastly, with the feet, if the feet are a little bit wider than your hips, about mat width apart, it's going to be a lot softer in your lower back. And if the legs are together, it's going to be a little bit more intense in the lower back area. So we're here for another 3 minutes in Sphinx. This is a really good pose to bring more energy into the body through stimulating the kidneys, where we're compressing into the back. We release our Jing essence, so our vital energy, which is stored in the kidneys. But we're also working into a back bend, so it's very stimulating for the nervous system. And here we want to really focus on lengthening up and out of the hips. So we're finding that lovely spaciousness in the spine rather than any compression. It's much more of a lifting and opening up. And we can send the breath all the way around the heart space again. And as we breathe, we'll feel a nice massaging effect in the abdomen, massaging all the internal organs. It's also very grounding to have the belly connected to the floor. So it's a really lovely pose to do in general. If the eyes aren't already closed, just bringing the eyes to a a close or a very soft gaze, and you can gently guide your awareness to your breath or to your intention once again. Let's see it for a last minute and a half. So just taking a final round of breath wherever you are. And then if you've taken any props underneath, you just move them out to the side first, and you can come to lay down. So it might feel nice to lay onto the back, or you can bring your head to one side and bring your hands beside your hips, or maybe even making a pillow with your hands and resting your forehead down. If it feels nice to add any movement into the hips, you can wiggle them side to side, or bend the knees and sway the feet side to side. So from here, just bringing yourself back to center, bring your hands beside your chest, tuck your toes under and push up through to hands and knees. Take a moment here to find a long spine again, and just a very, very gentle tuck of the tailbone under. So you feel the back of the waist lengthening down into the tailbone, just to counterpose the back bend. Breathe here, feel the navel just draw back to the spine, so a slight engagement in the core. And take one more breath here. At the end of your exhalation, we're tucking the toes under and pushing the hips up and back to come into downward facing dog. So you can keep the knees nice and bent, and we want to push the sit bones up to the ceiling and lengthen through the spine. So the energy is pushing away from the hands all the way into the tailbone. And feel the shoulder blades wrap around the rib cage, the biceps rolling away from the ears, and the neck is long. Chin is tucked into the chest, and you're breathing into the chest, pure breathing. Keep the knees as bent as you need to, and if it feels good to drop the heels to the floor, you can do that. But we're focusing on the length of the spine. So keep pushing the hips back, keep trying to find a little bit more space in the spine. Just here for another 4 rounds of breath, not too long. So this is actually a back bend also. So it's again a little bit stimulating for the nervous system, but it allows us to gain a lot of expansion all the way around the chest. Let's take a last round of breath here. And then drop your knees down to the floor at the end of your exhalation. Let's just take a moment to sit back onto the heels, keeping the head and the heart over the hips. Just let your nervous system settle for a moment. Nice, so we can work into our next shape, which is either a quarter dog or a extended puppy. So if you wanted to take a slightly deeper variation, it will be extended puppy. You want to keep your knees underneath your hips so the weight is back into the leg, and I keep my feet flat. but you might want to tuck your toes. And then just pad your hands out so that you come to a really long spine. And then once you feel that you can't go any further forward, you can bring the forehead down to the floor. If that feels quite comfortable for you and you're wanting to increase it, you can bring your chin and chest to the floor, if that's okay for your back. But you want to feel that you're strong in the body, you're not sliding along the mat. If you wanted to work into something that's not as strong, but still the same action, we can take the right forearm across the mat and then rest down the hand underneath the left elbow. So the forearm comes down to the floor, you push back, and then your forehead is going to come onto your forearm. And if that's still a little bit too strong, you can always work to bring a bolster or some cushions underneath your chest. So you're still getting that lovely support, but it's not as intense in the shoulder joint specifically. So we're going to be here for 4 minutes, 2 minutes each side if you're doing quarter dog, and 4 minutes complete in extended puppy. So really allow your spine to feel like it's draping towards the floor. So like the Christmas lights on a tree, that lovely opening of the spine. And as we let that, the effects of gravity really drop the body towards the floor, we get a nice pooling of blood in the organs. So it's really nourishing for all of the organs. And where we've got the arms up over the head, is creating much more flow of chi to the lungs. It's also bringing much more energy down into the hands and our circulation. As we're in an inversion, we're bringing all of the blood down into the hands and arms. So this really helps with any circulatory problems through the hands. So again, really breathe deeply into the chest. And feel that gentle toning of the abdomen back to the spine as you exhale the breath. If you've taken quarter dog, just slowly push up and switch over forearms. So you're now taking the left forearm across, bring the forehead back down, and the right arm is just extended out, maybe the forearm pressing onto the floor with the hand just behind the elbow, if you wanted to take that variation. If you're in extended puppy, you're staying as you are, just 2 minutes more. Just coming for our last minute, all done. If you need to come out, always come out when your body needs to. If you can stay just for the last few moments, please see how far you can go. So just taking a final round of breath here. And with your next inhalation, slowly start to push up and away from the hands and walk yourself back to sit onto your heels. If that's uncomfortable, just take the legs round in front so you can sit onto your sit bones with the legs stretched out in front. Just take a moment here to let your nervous system settle. And really feel into the heart space, so a sense of vibrancy or vitality, maybe some energy there down the side of the heart. Sense of real energy or energization. Nice. So we're just finishing with a couple more shapes. Another little bit of seated work. We're going to come into a seated twist from here. So we can take our left leg out long and the right leg, you can step it across. So we want the big toe really grounded down onto the mat and the leg is pulled in fairly close to the body. So the closer in, we get a nice compression into the abdomen as we twist. And the underneath leg, you can either keep it out with the foot flexed, or you can bring the foot round to the hip. So just if you've taken that variation, just lift the hips up and resettle once again. And then everyone lengthen up through the spine. We're holding on to the shin. Take your right fingertips behind you. Take an inhale, lift your left arm up. And as you exhale, twist from the navel, and you can either hook the elbow and turn to look towards the back, or you can hug round the shin and turn. Whichever feels most comfortable. So keeping the right shoulder away from the ear, you can either have the hand flat to the floor, come to a fist, or fingertips with the elbow slightly bent. And I want to really find a load of spaciousness across the chest. We're really lifting up and lengthening into the crown of the head. And now we're breathing into the abdomen, so deep belly breaths. You can close down through the eyes and just allow the twist to move the tissues all around the rib cage, around the spine, around the heart and lungs. Just take a final round of breath here. And with your next inhalation, slowly de-rotate, come out of the twist. And just pause in the center. You can hold on to the shin and just receive that beautiful twist. Real sense of balance, becoming more clear, and a sense of stability in the body and the mind. A really lovely grounding effect. Also maybe a sense of vitality building, almost kind of sparkly sensation in the mind. So we can slowly switch over sides. So take the legs out long once again. And then we can take the left foot across and either flex the underneath leg, keep it out long, or lean off to the side and then bring that right leg underneath and round to the side of the hip. You want the foot grounded on the floor of your left leg, and then the legs nice and close into the body. And then just hold on to the shin and give yourself a nice big stretch up, so you really open up the spine and the chest to begin. Take your left fingertips behind you, take an inhale up through your right arm, and then as you exhale, hook and turn, or hug and turn, looking towards the back of the room. You can close down again through the eyes and really let yourself drop into that deep abdominal breathing once again. So as we breathe deeply into the belly, we're giving a nice massage to all of the organs against the thigh. We get that compression on the inhale. And the twist as we exhale helps to really wring out any stagnant blood or energy, food, or waste in the body. And the twist in action is just giving the lungs and the heart a nice wringing out, also moving any energy around the heart space and really pushing the breath up more fully into the heart and lungs, as we've got that deep compression with the thigh and the twist through the abdomen. And we're working into the heart space, really building that sense of vitality. We're also looking at ways to feel more nourished, sense of intrinsic joy, versatility in different situations, that ability to be really responsive to life, and also seeing the interconnectedness in all things. So this is what we gain as we really build into our heart space. Just here for 1 minute more. Let's take a final round of breath here. And with the next inhalation, slowly de-rotate, come back through to the center, and just pause for your exhale. Lovely clarity of mind, that twist spring, and a real deep sense of balance. So we can slowly take the legs out in front, and we're finishing with a butterfly for the last shape. But you've got a couple of options. So you can either work with a forward fold, which is really nice to bring a sense of balance to the mind and a real deeply grounding effect to the mind. So you could bring some cushions or a bolster, some blocks underneath your knees, just to give you that support. And then we're looking to really fold deeply in. So you might want to hold on to the feet or the shins and let your whole back round. So you're curving the spine and dropping in. So we're going to get a lovely stretch on the heart space, but also in the neck, the spine, and just creating a little bit more of an opening in the back of the heart, which we haven't done too much work with. Or if you wanted to continue to work into the back bending and heart opening, you could take this second option, which is taking some cushions or blocks underneath a longer cushion. Bring your sit bone right up to the back, and then soles of the feet come together again. You might want to use some cushions underneath the knee, and then just lay back over the bolster. You can rest your arms out to the side, or you can bring your hands onto your body, your thighs, wherever feels really comfortable. And the closer the feet are in towards the sit bones, the more of an intense stretch you'll get in the groin. And the further the feet are away, may not be as strong. So just figure out which feels best for you today. And then we're here for about 5 minutes or so, maybe a little bit longer, 7 minutes. So wherever you are, just drop again into your breath. If you're in the fold, focus more on deep belly breathing. And if you're in the back bend, the heart opener, focus again more on the heart space, creating much more spaciousness as you breathe into the heart through pure breathing. taking the last 2 rounds of breath here. And if you come into a forward fold, just slowly start to pad yourself back up to a lifted position. And then we can all bring the soles of the feet to the floor, just gently bring the knees back up to center. If you're on your back, just take a moment to tuck the chin to the chest, and then you can either roll to one side or push yourself up slowly from the hands and the forearms. Take a moment just to draw the knees into the chest, so we're all hugging ourselves small and finding that sense of balance through the spine, through the hips. Taking a moment to really breathe into the body. And from here, moving into Shavasana, take any props that you might want underneath you. So maybe a bolster or some cushions underneath the backs of the knees, maybe a blanket over you or behind the back of the head. Maybe you'd like to bring some blocks underneath your heels to lift your feet up slightly. And if you wanted to turn the lights off or down, or bring something to cover the eyes, you can do that too. So just come down to the floor and hug the knees into the chest, lift the tailbone off the floor, lift your head, neck, shoulders off the floor, and give yourself a nice big squeeze in. And then place your head back down and slowly bring your legs out once again. Heels to the floor and back of the knees supported. You can bring your hands just beside your hips with the palms up to open the chest, and feel your shoulder blades slide down the back so they're nice and wide behind you, and your shoulders are away from your ears. Begin to breathe into the belly. You exhale, feel a sense of sinking. With each inhalation, feeling a sense of spaciousness. And as you exhale, allow yourself to move into that spaciousness, feeling heavy through the body, but a sense of lightness at the same time. So that your edges are blurring and your body is becoming much more soft. Again, inhaling spaciousness into your entire body. And exhaling, finding that sense of release, surrender, weightlessness, but also really drop in, so maybe even a sense of heaviness. Breathing in space. Exhaling, release. As you feel that sense of spaciousness expanding within you, tune into the sense of space around you as you exhale the breath. Infinite space around, and spaciousness within. And feel those two elements of space within and expanding space without or outside of your body. And tune into the very fine veil that separates the internal to the external. And just allow that fine veil, that fine separation to dissolve. So as you breathe in, you breathe into space. And as you breathe out into space. Space in and space out. Allowing yourself to dissolve into this sense of spaciousness. Let's slowly begin to breathe more deeply once again, feeling that sense of energy returning into your body and your mind going back into some form of motion. And gently turn your head side to side, just waking up the neck, shoulders. You can circle through the wrists, through the ankles. And then take any bigger stretches that might feel nice, a star stretch, a full body stretch, hugging the knees in, anything that really feels good for your body. And then you can slowly bring the feet to the floor, shift off to one hip and allow yourself to just roll over onto that side and pause on your side for a moment. Let's enjoy a few rounds of breath here as you transition. And then when you're ready, slowly press yourself up to a seated position, just taking again either cross legs position, sitting onto your shins or Shavasana. Keep the eyes closed and come to a nice tall straight spine. Just resting the hands down onto the thighs or lap and take a moment to let the nervous system just settle here. Take a moment to acknowledge how your physical body is feeling. Maybe that sense of vitality, sense of energy built around the heart space. Or maybe a physical sense of more vibrancy in the senses. Maybe a feeling of more internalization through the mind. Or maybe just a deeper sense of joy and bliss. Bringing hands to prayer at the heart space and connecting the thumbs into your heart. Take a nice deep breath. As you exhale, bow your head down in gratitude to yourself, to your heart. Take a moment to bring back to mind your intention for practice today. And offering gratitude to each other for sharing this space and our energy. Offering gratitude to sages and teachers before and for this beautiful practice. And offering gratitude to our bodies for all that they do for us. May our practice bring us strength, vitality, nourishment, and most importantly, a sense of deep joy. Namaste.